Today's episode of Inside Gaming Daily is sponsored by Robinhood. They're giving our viewers a free stock like Apple, Ford, or Sprint. You can get that by going to no.robinhood.com.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside Gaming for Monday.
Yeah, it's Monday. Gotta clap a little bit. Let's talk Monday. Mortal Kombat 11 is one of the biggest games so far in 2019, but some people who work there are claiming that the studio is just as nasty as when it's fatality.
Wow, capitalism fatality.
Good job.
Okay.
Wage slaveality.
Nice.
Yeah.
I moved out of my parents' house for this fatality.
Dang.
Is that about the developers or me?
In the last week, we've seen several articles about working conditions at NetherRealm Studios, which makes two well-known fighting franchises, Mortal Kombat and Injustice.
Right, Variety published an expose last week talking to several people who work at the studio, and they have a variety of complaints ranging from low pay, crunch, and a lot of overtime.
Oh yeah, Lawrence, give him the full disclosure.
So before we get into this, we should say that NetherRealm is owned by Warner Brothers, and so are we. Kind of. Not really sure how, to be honest.
Sister companies.
Yeah, we spent 10 minutes trying to figure this out before we wrote the script, and we still don't exactly know what the corporate spiderweb is like.
We're part of it.
Somehow, yeah. If you go up far enough, there is a communal owner somewhere in there, but we don't get paid if Mortal Kombat sells more. If that makes any sense.
I wish we did.
God, that'd be nice.
Anyway, with all that out of the way, let's talk about crunch and hopefully not get fired.
One current employee said that he and others at the studio have been working 60 to 70 hours per week, 7 days a week since January.
But how are you supposed to have time to go home and play video games, right?
That's what game development is.
I mean, I feel like that's the last thing you'd want
I
to do.
gotta beat this level to make this level.
Even though Mortal Kombat 11 was released last month, the crunch is still continuing as employees work to patch things like glitches, exploits, and fix issues involving the game's currencies.
Right. Some full-timers even live in the studio, literally sleeping in offices or inflatable sofas.
Lawrence, tell them about the contractors as well.
Yeah, boy, it's an issue near and dear to my heart, having spent like a decade of my life as a contractor.
Yeah.
A lot of them are recruited from universities, no shock there, paid $14 an hour to work on the game, which I'm pretty sure might be the state minimum. Nope, never mind, it goes lower than that. Others say they make as little as $11 an hour with the possibility of full-time employment being dangled out there like a carrot. Welcome to be a contractor.
Yeah, that's normal.
That is always how it is. It's not just crazy work hours and an over-reliance on low-paid contractors. Pretty sure every American company does that. There's also a toxicity problem too.
Another source told Variety that all the women in the office were given derogatory nicknames by male developers.
Every last one?
Holy sh**.
That's a lot of nicknaming to do.
Depends how many
there's only
women
4.
there were.
She claimed that, quote, sexist, transphobic, and generally toxic behavior was rampant, likely due to the fact that people were working 80 plus hours a week for months on end, and there was no accountability for such behavior.
Can't wait to read next week's headline about NetherRealm forcing all of these people into private arbitration.
For its part, NetherRealm gave a statement to Variety where it said all the right corporate things.
Yeah, let's hear some of that. Lawrence, take it away.
Let me spin it for you. So
got
the
it.
studio said, quote, "We greatly appreciate and respect all of our employees and prioritize creating a positive work experience. As an equal opportunity employer, we encourage diversity and constantly take steps to reduce crunch time for our employees."
Oh, sounds like a robot. Yeah.
They also added, quote, "We are actively looking into all allegations as we take these matters very seriously and are always working to improve our company environment."
It's better than just the subject line replying, F off.
Yeah, I make Shao Kahn. I can do what I want.
But it wasn't just Variety reporting on the conditions at NetherRealm. Other outlets also quickly came out with their own exposés.
Oh, no, that's not good. GamesIndustry.biz talked to 9 former and current employees and contractors about their experiences there at NetherRealm.
One who worked on 2013's Injustice said they worked 90-hour work weeks for about 4 months straight without a day off.
Ooh.
And that included Saturdays and Sundays, the Lord's Day.
Others reported grinding out 100-hour weeks on Mortal Kombat 10X? What do I say there?
Mortal Kombat X.
X,
Yeah.
and Injustice 2.
One contractor said that they worked 12 hours or more, 7 days a week for 6 months as Mortal Kombat 10X, whatever you want to call it, was about to be launched.
Wow. While the game industry has always had a reputation for brutal working hours, NetherRealm sounds pretty rough even by video game standards, right, Lawrence?
Honestly, it might be pretty par of the course for video game standards. It's nice, though, that people feel like they can talk about this now.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you suffer it alone, and then once you talk, you figure out everybody's been doing it, and it hopefully makes you feel a little more accepted or that there's a support group there. PC Gamer spoke to a former QA tester, Isaac Torres, who worked in NetherRealm from 2012 to 2013 on Injustice. He said that he, quote, "crunched for about 4 months straight. I was regularly doing 90 to 100-hour weeks and worked every single day." Because of all this, there's been just this outpouring of other people's experiences. After Polygon ran a story about crunch at Epic, James Longstreet, who worked on Mortal Kombat 9, tweeted that, quote, "Working at NetherRealm on MK9 nearly killed me. I didn't sleep more than 4 hours for months."
A lot of the people interviewed said that crunch wasn't explicitly mandated, but they felt indirectly pressured based on the workload that needed to get done. We've tales all this time.
Yep.
Yeah.
One was quoted as saying, quote, "It's a tricky maneuver where they can claim innocence in the fact they didn't make anyone do anything, but it's really by coercion."
This comes as lots of studios have been accused of overly crunching employees like Epic Games and Rockstar, or having toxic environments much like Riot Games.
Yeah, as for Epic Games, Polygon reported that the big growth of Fortnite led to months of crunch for Epic employees and contractors, saying they regularly worked more than 70-hour work weeks.
And last year at Rockstar, there was a mini controversy after one of the studio heads said that they regularly put in 100-hour work weeks into the game.
Riot Games, meanwhile, seemed like more of an animal house environment. For the workplace, this sounds much more like a boys' club, right, Lawrence?
Yeah, there were a lot of unsavory stories coming out of that. I mean, there's a lot of open lawsuits going on now, so we might get some public documentation soon, which is what Riot was trying to avoid with the whole private arbitration thing. At any rate, there's one more thing to note here. This is kind of interesting. We don't seem to hear crunch stories these days coming out of EA. And actually, a long time ago with the EA wife stuff in San Francisco, I believe, that was one of the first issues that really elevated this concern about workplace environments in video game development. So it makes me wonder, could all these microtransactions be funding better work conditions? Maybe they found a way to achieve the same level of profit with less work by nickel and diming their players to death.
Yeah.
We're not saying that's the case. Maybe
No.
EA just got really good at covering up all the PR fallout of it and buttoning it up before it gets out there. But it is an interesting little thoughtable for you, a little something to crunch on. You might be mad about all this excess monetization, but if that allows game developers to go home and see their kids grow up and have some sleep and drink some water, maybe it's not such a bad thing after all.
Drink some water.
But for a lot of studios, it sounds like this could be a systemic problem.
Yeah, NetherRealm crunch wasn't an aberration, it was the norm.
A current employee told Games Industry, quote, "The leadership position is that this is how it has to be. This is what game development is."
And then he slapped him in the face.
Yeah.
Splashed some water.
them in the
all
gut.
hope ye who enter here.
Based on how often crunch issues come up around the industry, it's safe to say that NetherRealm isn't an isolated case.
Right, not surprisingly, this has led to studio staffers talking more and more about unionizing.
Union!
Yeah, power to the people.
I want you. Oh, that's Uncle Sam.
That's the opposite of a union.
An annual survey conducted by the International Game Developers Association shows that interest in unionization has been rising quite a bit in recent years, right, Lawrence?
Yeah, in 2009, a third of game workers said they would support a union in their company. This year, 47% said yes to the same question. Another 26% said maybe when asked if they thought that game workers should unionize. Some people chalk this up to the gaming workforce getting older. People in their 30s and 40s aren't going to necessarily work the long hours that they did in their 20s.
Too old.
They're too old, but also, life. If you have a kid, you got other things you got to worry about. You need some of the nice things like retirement and health insurance.
And water.
And also, the gaming industry often works closely with actors in the entertainment industry, which is heavily unionized.
Yeah, Kate Edwards, who was executive director of IDGA from 2012 to 2017, said, quote, "There's been a massive shift when it comes to talk of unionization in the gaming industry."
Yeah, when it comes to gamers, it seems like these stories seem to follow a pattern. Story about bad working conditions comes up, people call for improved working conditions, and then nothing happens.
Because stuff like unionization is hard and it takes time. Lots and lots of time. Plus, a fully unionized gaming industry would look a lot different.
Games would probably cost more, and they definitely take a lot longer to come out, so there is a trade-off there, and the question is, are you willing to take that?
Yeah, are we part of the problem, Lawrence?
It's a system, and it's all connected, and that doesn't mean that any one part of it is at fault. This means there's a lot of factors that influence each other. So there are people who claim no, a crunch is just bad management. Like if we just fix bad management, then we can get the same product at the same time for the same cost. Like there's not a switch on the wall. It says management, and it's flipped to bad, and you just got to go over and whack it up. It's so easy to wag a finger at something like this and say bad, but when you look at actually how to fix it, there's no silver bullet there. The consumers definitely have said that they're not willing to endure any sort of cost adjustment or time adjustment on behalf of the developers.
You don't see the blood, sweat, and tears that went into it. You just get the final product.
Yeah.
And if that final product isn't perfect and shiny in every way possible, consumer has every right to complain about it, but what you don't see is all the tired people.
All the people working. I mean, also, if you asked anybody directly on Twitter or whatever else, you're like, hey, would it be cool if they put a little longer on it, or maybe you paid a little more? They'd be like, sure, no problem. But then when the game comes out and it's broken or whatever else, you're like, what the f, man? I paid an extra $40 for this, and it's like, that's just one of those things that you can't solve easily.
For a somewhat recent example, just go ahead and look at the Sonic movie. Nobody liked the character model, and the director promised that they'll make changes and we'll all be celebrating.
Woo! We did it! We
New
fixed
endeavor.
Sonic! But those changes are gonna happen thanks to lots and lots of crunch.
Yeah.
People are doing it right now.
Think of the tears of the animators. A lot of this seems to be driven by social media as well. Crunch isn't new, but people tweeting about their experiences is fairly recent.
Yeah, no, it is. So is this a question of kids being whiny about working in the real world, or a much needed spotlight being put on poor working conditions?
I mean, ideally.
Answer it, Lawrence. What is it?
Let me handle this one, guys. It's not wrong to expose something that's less than ideal and ask for people's empathy in addressing a problem. I think what's harder is like, again, finding any kind of solution. Also, like, some of this stuff's just unavoidable, and it's a symptom of the system, not the system itself. Employers are allowed to get away with these conditions because there's a lot of competition for roles in this industry. And if that weren't there, then employers would have to offer more to solicit better workers. So in the NetherRealm situation, they're allowed to just scoop up a bunch of college kids that want to work in the games industry and burn them out because they're willing to do it. If collectively, through unionization or some sort of collective bargaining, a lot of fresh college grads want to like say, no, we demand better payment and better hours. That also means fewer jobs. And then it means that 2 or 3 of them can't scab over everybody and say, no, I'll work the 14 hours, it's fine. I kind of got my break into games media by getting shit on in a contractor position. It just happens.
We're not saying you should do that.
Yeah, absolutely not.
That's just what happened.
Yeah, in a free market, when you're competing with other people who want to do the same work, you have to distinguish yourself somehow. And sadly, to a lot of companies, the way you do that is by getting paid almost nothing and working your ass off for years.
So with all of those things said, we try to leave you with something positive here, but we don't have anything.
It's kind of like the Fortnite problem. They're number 1 right now. They're crunching their asses off to be there. Apex, not crunching as much, not releasing as much content. They've had a huge fall off. I think you can see that in action right now. Treating your employees right means that you sync to number 15 on Twitch.
There's no getting off this treadmill.
It turns out you gotta work all the time.
Turn off this crazy thing. I want to go to sleep. Today's episode of Inside Gaming Daily is brought to you by Robinhood. Robinhood is an app and an online service that allows you to get into investing at any level, no matter your experience level or the amount of money that you have to work with. That you can buy and sell stocks, ETFs, options, and cryptos, all commission free. A lot of other investing services usually have an account minimum you have to hold to. Robinhood doesn't have that, so you can just get started however you like. They have easy to understand charts and market data. You can place a trade in just 4 taps on your smartphone. You can also set up alerts and stuff like that if you start getting into it and you're like buying and selling like a cool day trader, putting some of that pro gamer energy into your financial future. You can set all that stuff up on your phone and be day trading like a goddamn pro. You can also view stock collections. Basically, they'll group various stocks and assets into collections. So if you just want to invest in a particular area of the marketplace, you can do that too. They do that easily with stuff like 100 most popular, things like that. So with Robinhood, you can learn how to invest in the market as you build your portfolio. That's right, invest in the future, the inside gaming way. Use Robinhood. You can get a free stock too to start your portfolio, and that's from a major company like Apple, Ford, or Sprint. Just kick you off there the right way. You can get that at theknow.robinhood.com. Once more, that's theknow.robinhood.com. So thank you, Robinhood, for the sponsorship, and thank you, gamers, for investing in your future with Robinhood.
Differences and gestures by straight men towards other straight men, and the other was the sexist and inappropriate language about women.
So hold on a minute.
Okay.
We here at the Funhouse/Inside Gaming offices would like to say that is deplorable, and no professional would ever behave that way
Go ahead, you gotta commit, Adam.
in any capacity for any reason. My birthday.